Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sunshine and Rainbows with the Schmoes Show, the only show on the internet where nothing bad ever happens, where it's only positive feelings around here. Are you feeling absolutely positive and happy, Kyle?
I'm positive of so many things right now.
I am so goddamn happy to be alive. I cannot tell you all just how great everything is in the world right now.
Yep. Just don't look at my Firefox tab group names. As long as you don't do that, everything's great.
Everything is perfect. Don't even begin to suspect something might be wrong. Because you're wrong. There is just cool vibes and epic fury everywhere. We should all just be happy to be alive. Mm-hmm. This is the best time to be alive.
Very epic, very cool.
Yeah. Let me just ask an AI, right? Is now a good time to be alive? You know? I mean, why even think about it? Just have the AI do the thinking for you.
AIs have never encouraged people to take their own lives. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
For a little bit of taste of what's up to come, I haven't told you about this yet, but I do have a tab that's just ominously called birth control.
Okay. I was not ready for that. Thank you.
Yeah, so this week has been a lot, and we're going to talk probably for a long time about Iran, because of course we are, but I have a lot of other stuff because there was a shitload that actually happened this week.
Oh, please go on.
Yeah.
Let's just get into it. Bite the bullet.
Yeah, it's a doozy of a week. So the U.S. Has started another war in the Middle East.
Who would have thought that?
Joint strike between the United States and Israel on Iran. Iran has responded. Let me actually see. Because there's been a lot coming out very quickly. What does Al Jazeera have? I'm curious here on possible death tolls that we're currently seeing. So far, we have 200 killed, 750 injured in Iran, 9 killed, 120 injured in Israel, and 3 killed and 5 injured of U.S. service members. Various injuries as well in neighboring countries of Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman. The big one, though, apparently Iranian state media has confirmed that the supreme leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, is dead following an Israeli airstrike on Saturday.
It was fast. I expected that way later, you know?
I think that's kind of the frustrating part of all of this, is that the capabilities of the U.S. military especially is far greater than I think most people really have the ability to comprehend.
You know, this in Venezuela? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have, we call it the military industrial complex, right?
Yeah.
That's ours. And that's a very well-deserved term because it is a complex. We treat military and bomb making the same way other countries might treat making furniture or handling international commerce. It's a massive part of our economy and a pretty huge part of our exports. The tools that we have at our disposal make it relatively trivial to kill basically any individual at the press of a button at this point. I don't think that's an exaggeration. We know where Khamenei is. We've confirmed this because Israel had an airstrike and killed him, right?
Yeah.
I guess we'll get into the end of this a little bit later, but I keep struggling, not even struggling. I refuse to move past the idea where the alleged claims, as we heard from good old Lindsey Graham at the top of the news stories today, our goal is to make sure Iran cannot become the largest state sponsor of terrorism. And they don't have a plan to do that. It is a massive clusterfuck of what are we actually doing? What is the goal here? What is the purpose of this? What is a mission complete?
Because we got generate capital.
Is it? Because I'm not sure. I'm genuinely not sure at this point. There is a good thread talking about the different reasons, like why is America attacking Iran? And they have a couple of them going through it. So let's just go through the list here.
Okay.
Iran was working on nuclear weapons and ICBMs. That was the common refrain is nuclear weapons are a week away, according to Steve Witkoff. White House has also said that they were years away. We also had in a interview with Ted Cruz, I have no indications they were getting anywhere close to getting nuclear weapons.
Well, Ted's a fucking idiot.
Had Mark Warner, I saw no intelligence that Iran was on the verge of launching any kind of preemptive strike against the United States. So you have people across the political spectrum here who are acknowledging the reality that the White House themselves have already acknowledged that there is no imminent threat from Iran in the nuclear weapons front or the ICBM front. They hate him for it, but Obama negotiated a pretty fucking good deal when he was president to curb Iran's nuclear capabilities. Then they blew the shit out of their factories that they had built in the last 10 years since then, earlier in last year. So already very conflicting messaging there. The other big one is the idea that Iran was about to attack us, that we had to do a preemptive strike so that we got them before they got us. Which again kind of falls apart in the fact that they don't have the capabilities to do that preemptive strike. And anything that they could do a preemptive strike on would be the exact kind of military, saber rattling that the US likes to do so much in the region with their carrier groups and that kind of thing. And the final common reason that I hear a lot is the idea of regime change, right? That they've killed Ali Khamenei, so that's the goal. Take out the leadership, leave space for the people of Iran to build something different in its place. We can see already that that's bullshit. The guy's dead. They don't have an established chain of command to move power down through that chain. It's very obviously, maybe it's mostly that. I'm sure that most people would like to see that. They would like to see a more democratic government in Iran. I don't think that's at all an unpopular opinion, but it's very, very obvious that that's not actually their goals here. But it becomes hard to say, what actually are their goals, right? Because at this point still, nobody wants to put soldiers on the ground in Iran. So you can't have soldiers on the ground, or if you don't have soldiers on the ground, you can't secure the oil fields, like was the obvious motivations in the past. You can't really destabilize that region in that way. And I guess to their credit, maybe it's not quite the right way to put it, if that's the case, Iran had a pretty good response for that this morning, where they blew up one of their own oil tankers trying to leave the region. If oil is the reason for doing this, Iran has pretty clearly indicated that they're happy to put a stranglehold on that in the ways that they can. The reasons behind this that we've talked about right now are, I think in a way almost comforting for a lot of the people on our side of this, where it makes it easier to think about what's going on here and what to do next when you have the opposition also having clear goals in a conflict like this. But what I think is happening here is the same thing that we saw in Minneapolis, where these are just evil people who like to see other people get hurt and like to do that hurting themselves. And this is a way for them to continue to do that, where they can hurt people and post about it online and brag about it online.
Yeah, no, I think this is a fantasy.
Yeah. We saw the same thing with the case in Venezuela. Yeah. Where in the aftermath of that, in the wake of that, all Trump could talk about was how excited he was to see our soldiers go into someone else's home and wreck the place and steal things from it. He doesn't actually care about the outcomes of that, what's going to come next in the wake of that. He just likes seeing them wreck up the place.
Yeah, it's just fantasy. You know, it's a good story, and it's just something that they get to feel all powerful about, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. I don't know. I'm so over it, and we're only like a year into this bullshit. You know, I don't think I have 3 years of me left. I don't know.
So I do think pretty strongly that if this continues, we won't have 3 years of this.
You don't think so?
One of the things,
yeah.
No. There's obviously a lot of comparisons being made to the U.S. response in the wake of 9/11.
Yeah.
Right. We were talking about that already. But a main thing that differs from that is that in the wake of 9/11, there was only something like a 57% support of what the government's response was in the immediate aftermath. It took time for the U.S. government to lie about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq for that invasion to actually see the more broader support that it eventually did. And then eventually we did find out that those were lies. And by the end of it, support for that war was extremely low. From the onset here, support for the United States initiating an attack on Iran, as reported in the New York fucking Times, is only at 21%. Nobody wants this. As a point of reference, I always love statistics like this because it really paints into a nice perspective of how close to zero these kinds of numbers are. 13% of Americans believe strongly in Bigfoot.
I used to be a part of that 13, I will admit.
So 21% is nothing. People don't want this. And unlike in the wake of 9/11, there's not an obvious propaganda line that they can bring out now to try and justify it. There is no, we have to stop weapons of mass destruction line to bring out. The idea of regime change also falls apart very quickly because you got the guy. Leave. Don't let another, we've already seen 8 casualties from Americans alone, dozens in Israel. If that's actually your goal, is to effectuate regime change, for one, this is a terrible way to do it. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but this sucks as a mechanism for that. So it's not true, even if they do say that. But the answer to that solution, the next step is to then leave. Let them do that regime change. But it's not. And there is no obvious way that they're going to be able to get these numbers up other than just playing the partisan lines.
I was about to say, we got to make sure they do it right, don't you know?
So that's the really interesting thing, is that it doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem like they're going for that, I should say. Their lines that they're trying to draw right now are that we can kill the people we don't like, and the people who are left can just pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
There's a really interesting idea going around right now because obviously 8 U.S. service members were casualties of this, right? 3 dead, 8 injured. I saw this talk going around earlier today about the idea of don't harass the wait staff kind of thing, but in the context of the US government, right? Don't harass the lower level people in this because they just need jobs to have jobs. And I do think that there's a really interesting through line in this. You're gonna have to bear with me, right?
Yeah.
But it's very true. There are a large number of people, particularly in the US military, who are only in the US military because they need a job. They need some sort of employment. They need to do something for work because they have a more rent to pay, or they need to put food on the table for their family, and they don't have any other options. And that's very often an intentional angle that is pivoted. The idea of, national pride is a factor, of course, but it's very far from number one. It's being pitched on seeing the world and getting a good paying job. And maybe at the end of it, you get on the GI Bill and you get to go to college, doing these things that you couldn't afford otherwise at your current income level. There's a lot of people in that position, and the idea that those people can just cut and run and do something else is not true in a lot of cases. Well, these people are stuck into these positions.
Have you seen how we treat like former service people in this fucking country?
We treat them like shit.
Yeah, like
especially the ones who need the most help.
Yeah. It's not viable for a lot of people.
Yeah. So to extend this to the other side, that's also true in Iran. Iran is a massive country, tens of millions of people, and while they are a dictatorship, one could argue we are too, but they've had the same leader for the last 36 years now. The same thing is going to be true anywhere. Working in your country's military is a relatively well-paying job because it's a not good job, and it's going to attract people as a result of that. So when the US comes in here and says, we want to effectuate regime change, we're going to do it through these bombing attacks, and one of their first fucking things is to bomb a school on an Iranian military base, you're not winning over hearts and minds by killing their children. Something like 153 people in that school was what I had last heard were killed or injured. 153. And maybe they do stop to think about it. But it seems like these same people who are pushing for this don't stop to think how we would react in kind. If Iran said, oh, we're going to take care of Trump for you, and then you can put something better in his place, and they do that by killing Trump, but then also killing 153 children, we'd be rightfully pissed off.
Oh, totally.
There's a good quote that I saw going around earlier today from Iranian author Sahar Delajani. I was born in an Iranian prison. My parents were held in their jails. My uncles lie in their mass graves. Nothing you can tell me about the crimes of the Iranian regime that I haven't lived in blood and bone. That doesn't mean I want my people bombed, maimed, killed, their homes in ruins. If your vision of liberation comes only through the destruction of innocent lives, then it's not freedom you're after.
I like that. No, it's very real. It's pragmatic. That's life.
Something else that I thought was really interesting, poignant in sort of the wake of all of this, is that, I think it's valuable to look at the way that our government's policy interacts with one another. And there's a really interesting idea that I saw presented, I believe, first in January through the YouTube channel Technology Connections, talking about how relatively trivial it would be for the US to convert over the vast majority of its electrical infrastructure to solar energy by taking specifically for automobiles, to be clear, by taking the cornfields that are used to produce the ethanol that is supplemented in basically all U.S. gasolines, taking just the cornfields that are used for that purpose, and you take something like half of them and turn them into solar farms, and you could power not just the entirety of the electric cars that would be needed to drive that same amount of gas used that those fields would allow to be produced, but then also something like half of the electrical requirements for all of the homes in the US.
Imagine what we could do with the other half. That's why I hate corn. It's a demon plant.
It's pretty bad. And the extension that he had onto this that was sort of a light bulb moment for me was the idea of how, if that happens, it immediately takes away a major political piece that has been used to justify imperialist aggression for decades now. If you don't need gas, you don't need oil, there's not really a good fucking reason to care about the Middle East anymore. You can argue regime change, you can argue democracy if you want, but there's not this massive commerce strait going in and out of the Middle East, providing oil to the rest of the world if electric cars are the norm. And that takes away a massive point of pressure that our adversaries can use on us.
So what you're saying is we are under siege of the Black Devil itself. The slowly depleting Black Devil itself.
Yeah. I mean, it'll go out eventually, right?
Yeah.
It's a ticking clock.
I think we'll see it in our lifetime.
I'm not sure. I have to hope, maybe not hope, but I do expect we will see renewable sources phased in instead of oil in our lifetimes, but I don't think it'll because oil runs out or anything like that. Our science is pretty good at estimating how much of our reserves are left. There's a lot left. Not infinite, of course, but decades worth very easily.
Damn it.
Yeah. And through all of that, it's not a coincidence, I don't think at this point, that the same government that's trying to effectuate regime change in the Middle East, in part, not in whole, but in part because that's a major source of oil for the world and it helps to dictate what the price of a barrel of oil is globally, is because, or through all of that, they cut the EV tax credits, making it significantly more expensive for Americans to afford electric vehicles, which means that more people need gas in the long term. So all of these policies, at a lot of levels, they tie in together to the same end. The political activities on one hand justify the imperial activities on the other, and vice versa. So, with that, where'd this go? There we go.
I was gonna make a joke about how many celebrities it's going to take to like sing badly into their phone cameras to stop this, but yeah.
With that said, I do think it's worth taking a quick aside to point out the massive hypocrisy that is going on the right in these last couple of days.
Please.
If nothing else, because it's funny.
Yeah.
And especially in the wake of the Khamenei assassination and the idea that, was it Lindsey Graham talking about needing to push regime change? So a little bit of a who's who of the biggest pieces of shit on Twitter. We have Cat Turd, name one U.S.-inspired regime change that hasn't ended in absolute disaster in 2024. And in 2026, praising the death of Ali Khamenei through AI-generated memes. Very on brand.
Very on brand.
Laura Loomer, a message has been sent that we are not interested in going back to the way politics were prior to Trump, prior to 2016. We don't want war hawks. We don't want neocons. We want America first, period. End of discussion. And then February 28th, 2026, our military is amazing. Hegseth is an absolute killer. Now you see why the deep state worked so hard against him. We have, where's the other good one? Gunther Eagleman's another one. June 2025, warmonger Lindsey Graham just rushed to Fox to advocate for U.S. involvement as soon as he could. He is also pushing for a U.S.-backed regime change in Iran. I would like to renominate Graham to get a one-way ticket to the front lines of every war he wants America involved in. Guntherman in February 2026, just in, President Trump is hard at work all weekend after the massive strikes on Iran. He's already on the phone with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Just pathetic shit. And the real cherry on top that I loved seeing this week, January 31st, 2023. Headline, Trump's best foreign policy, not starting any wars. Subheading, he has my support in 2024 because I know he won't recklessly send Americans to fight overseas. Penned by none other than J.D. fucking Vance.
But he hasn't sent anybody yet. He's just bombed a fucking ton.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing, though.
Yeah.
There's already 3 people dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
With that,
Sigh.
because I am, if nothing, a pathetic liberal, I think it's worth talking about what the response to this kind of stuff should be. Because there's been, I would call it a pretty strongly astroturfed campaign that's going on to present Gavin Newsom as the preeminent Democratic candidate for the 2028 election.
It's so annoying.
It's very annoying. And there has, thankfully, in the wake of the 2024 election, been some very unnecessary, because their conclusions are very obvious to anyone with eyes, so unnecessary but helpful scientific, polling and that kind of stuff being done to show why the Democratic Party sucks right now. And to put it together here, to sum it up together here, this is a piece by, where did it go? I lost the name of it. It's written by G. Elliott Morris, but voters don't think Dems are too progressive. They think Dems are weak.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that is the fundamental part of it. When you compare the difference in percentages of vote share gained, if Dems are seen as more moderate, they have a potential to gain 6 percentage points. If Dems are seen as instead stronger, they have a potential to gain nearly 12. So if you actually are an establishment Democrat like Chuck Schumer, you have way more to gain by taking a stand on something and proudly defending it than this middle of the aisle politicizing of everything, this political floundering where they don't seem to actually believe anything that they say.
They say one thing, and it's that they're just unhappy. Oh gosh darn it. I tell you what, it's so unfortunate.
Another element of this that kind of ties together, hell of a week for it. We actually had the State of the Union this week.
Oh yeah.
I actually sat through it and watched the majority of it. There's about a half an hour I had to, no, close to like 20 minutes in the middle where I had to take a break because it was just very dumb and boring. But I did watch the vast majority of it. And from what I was able to see, I didn't miss anything. But on the whole, Democrats are kind of pathetic and weak thing, and people are noticing it. There was a significant number of Democrats in attendance of the State of the Union that just sat there and let themselves get heckled by the president for like an hour. And it's so pathetic. You could do the easiest thing in the world and just stand up and leave. And they won't even do that. Not when they're being insulted to their face. Credit to Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar on actually literally standing up and calling out the president on his very obvious lies and bullshit. And you could really see when it happened, it pissed him off. So that was extremely enjoyable to see. But it's the same kind of thing, right? People recognize that politicians like Omar are willing to stand up and fight. They give a shit about things. There's a really good message, a good tweet that Omar sent out this week as well. Representative Nancy Mace tweeted a picture of Ali Khamenei saying, "My heart goes out to Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib tonight, sending them thoughts and prayers." To which Omar responded, "I hope you weren't drunk and took your staff's advice. Rashida and I don't know this man and feel confident he didn't care about us. Please refrain from drinking too much as you've been warned from your staff and stay off of social media when you're drunk. I pray in this holy month you find peace and respect for yourself."
Get their ass. That's good. That's good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, more of that, please. Call these people out on their obvious lies. Speaking of obvious lies as well, I had a thought that it would have lined up really nicely if we had these flipped the other way, but the whole thing in Iran is too big to not start with, right?
Yeah.
The other big news story this week has been about how much the Department of Defense is trying to incorporate artificial intelligence into everything that they do. I'm not sure how closely you followed this week. I don't think we posted too much about it back and forth as it was happening, but
You mean with Sam Altman getting like a contract with them?
well, so it was more Anthropic first telling the DoD that they were not going to agree to the contract that the DoD wanted. That was the big part of this, is that Anthropic's team has been contracting with the Department of Defense and the Pentagon for a while, using their Claude chatbot for a variety of things. And the DoD wanted to revise their contract specifically to allow them to use Anthropic's AIs for autonomous weapons and mass surveillance purposes. Anthropic specifically would not allow either of those cases, even in an instance where those would have been lawful uses under US law if the law changed. And the DoD did not like that. So eventually they ended up closing their contracts. There was a lot of back and forth with this. Let me see if I can find it real quick, because I had a couple of these here. But in the wake of that, a lot of people saw how Anthropic was, in their own way, standing up to the government. And there's a lot to be said about Anthropic themselves and how they use a particular type of sort of like doom posting as advertisement almost of like, our AI is so powerful. We have to be so careful that it doesn't turn into the Terminator because it's just that strong. Honestly, and we have to be so careful because it's that strong, even though it's not that strong.
I've been calling Anthropic the pick me girl, or I'm not like other girls of AI companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've through this week, we had first Anthropic being in these talks with the Pentagon, Anthropic saying, no, we're not going to go ahead with this, and that culminating in the DoD canceling their contracts with Anthropic, all very publicly. And then in the wake of that, we end up with OpenAI stepping into that now Anthropic shaped hole and deciding to fit into it. Boy, have you seen Altman's posts about this?
No,
there's some doozies.
Because I've been avoiding him like the fucking plague.
Smart. Yeah. I'll give you a taste here. So this is the official statement that started this all off. Tonight, we reached an agreement with the Department of War to deploy our models in their classified network. In all of our interactions, the DoW displayed a deep respect for the safety and a desire to partner to achieve the best possible outcome. AI safety and wide distribution of benefits are the core of our mission. Two of our most important safety principles are prohibitions on domestic mass surveillance and human responsibility for the use of force, including for autonomous weapon systems. The DoW agrees with these principles, reflects them in law and policy, and we put them into our agreement. We will build technical safeguards to ensure our models behave as they should, which the DoW also wanted. We will deploy FDEs to help with our models, and to ensure their safety, we will deploy on cloud networks only. We are asking the DoW to offer these same terms to all AR companies, which in our opinion, we think everyone should be willing to accept. We have expressed our strong desire to see things de-escalate away from legal and governmental action and toward reasonable agreements. We remain committed to serve all of humanity as best we can. The world is a complicated, messy, and sometimes dangerous place.
Virtual signaling fucks.
Followed that up with Altman decided he would like to do an AMA in response to the gigantic fucking backlash that came from that post. Question: if the government comes back with a memo saying that, in their view, mass domestic surveillance is legal, do you do that? Do you do it until the courts bar it, or do you delay until the courts approve it? Second, would mass domestic surveillance be a lawful use right now? Quote from Sam Altman: we would not do that because it violates the Constitution. Also, I cannot overstate how much the DoW has been extremely aligned on this point. However, maybe this is the question you are really asking. What would we do if there were a constitutional amendment that made it legal? Maybe I would quit my job. I very deeply believe in the democratic process and that our elected leaders have the power, and that we all have to uphold the Constitution. I am terrified of a world where AI companies act like they have more power than the government.
I'm sorry, couldn't you hear him with Donnie's cock in his mouth?
Another good one. Which of OpenAI's core principles was most difficult to reconcile with DOW's requirements you're requiring during your internal debates this week? It's just unreal. Since the initial statement, there has now been a Twitter note added, a community note added, saying government officials have contradicted Sam's claim, saying OpenAI will allow the DOW to use their models for, quote, all lawful purposes. This could allow for uses Anthropic refused to engage in, namely mass surveillance tools and weapon systems with no human oversight.
Something bad's going to happen.
I think it already is, right? Like we're there. And here's another good one. Sam Altman, quote, it was definitely rushed and the optics don't look good. We really wanted to de-escalate things and we thought the deal on offer was good. If we're right, and this does lead to a de-escalation between the DOW and the industry, we will look like geniuses and a company that took on a lot of pain to do things to help the industry. If not, we will continue to be characterized as rushed and uncareful. I don't know where it's going to land, but I have already seen promising signs. I think a good relationship between the government and the companies developing this technology is critical over the next couple of years. Notably in his "it was rushed and we hope that this will work out and look good for us in the future" thing, he has multiple typos because he's rushing to type through all of this. He's literally posting through it. So all of this was happening on the 27th and the 28th, last couple of days. And then to really cap it all off, we have that one go. Wall Street Journal reporting that the U.S. used Claude for their airstrikes in Iran. CENTCOM has been using Claude, quote, for intelligence assessments, target identification, and simulating battle scenarios.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds about right.
So they're already there. It's already the things that people don't want these tools to be used for, and it's already being used for that. And this is all happening in the days after Altman decided to sign a contract with the government. So the last thing that I wanted to note about all of this is that in the wake of OpenAI bending the knee, I've seen a lot of posts, particularly on Reddit, being just like, oh, this is terrible. I'm canceling my ChatGPT subscription and giving it to Anthropic instead. It's like, no, dude, you should stop using it altogether. They're all like this.
I've got nothing on this. This is just shitty.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the point where we're seeing human horrors beyond our comprehension in our lifetime.
It's certainly getting there.
Bubble needs to pop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how long it's going to take, but it sure needs to happen here soon. It's inexcusable.
Yeah.
I do wonder how closely it's going to tie to the midterms coming up here. I imagine we're going to see a massive financial push from people like Sam Altman to support non-Democrat candidates, specifically because they are concerned about that. There was a statement earlier this week from Senator Ruben Gallego of Arizona, telling Semaphore, quote, once we take power, whoever the president is, we're going to break up your companies. So all the investment you did to create those mergers are going to be for naught. Your investors are going to be pissed at you, and you're likely going to end up getting fired as the CEO because you wasted so much money and corrupted yourself in the process.
What's that old Dostoevsky quote? You've debased yourself for an idea and you got nothing out of it?
There's a good discussion that Hank Green was starting up talking about this, about how the economics of this situation get really fucked up really quickly when you have a president that is so willingly and so openly taking these corrupt deals. Where if you're, a company who makes a thing and you have a competitor, if your competitor is paying the government, bribing the government to support your thing, your options are either to make less money or to also start bribing the government, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes a very slippery slope very quickly towards the sort of oligarchy that Russia has, towards the sort of developmental stagnation, right? Where the thing that makes you more money is bending your knee to the government rather than making a better thing than your competitor.
So I'm kind of
Well,
curious.
we'll have to see,
right?
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Donnie's not going to think his own like strategy here. I wonder if we look up like how ChatGPT predicts the midterms to go, if they'll give like a sneak peek of Donnie's like Donnie's, what's the word I'm looking for? Next few months, because I'm assuming this is the same information he will get.
It's possible. That's the kind of thing that's I find really frustrating about the proliferation of these chatbots is how bad they are, kind of by definition, at doing that thing.
Oh, they're terrible.
Where anytime you have a rapidly changing situation, like a political party winning a major election and then within 2 years doing a complete turnaround into being, like minus double digit points on basically every topic, the only way that can be reflected in a chat function like that in the first place is to have it be updated with the new information since then. And that's assuming that the thumbs aren't being put on the scales to push it in the direction that's beneficial to the company making that chatbot.
Oh, it's biased.
But of course it is. Absolutely is. It's the same. Like, we've been seeing this for years, right? Yeah. We've had these kinds of surveillance systems that police departments have tried to deploy for the better part of a decade. And you immediately start to see the problems in them because they're made by a bunch of white people. So they either struggle to deal with people who aren't white because they're trained on a bunch of white people, or they're not intentionally, but they become biased towards people who are not white because they're so used to seeing white people in their training data.
Yeah. So I did a little game. I just wanted to see what AI would summarize. I went down to the very bottom because Donnie's not going to read that shit. And would you care to know what an AI prediction of fucking 2026 is going to look like?
Honestly, no, but go ahead.
It's cute. It's biased. It's very biased. Democrats look to either win by a majority, or they will fall suit with a very divided House. The Senate will remain undivided, and Republicans will lead it. How do you? Yeah.
No, the Senate's going to be an interesting one. I don't remember the exact number of seats that are actually up for it. It's obviously not the entirety of the Senate like it is for the House. The House flips much more regularly because it entirely turns over every 2 years. The Senate being on a 6-year cycle and things being staggered out a little bit is much less consistent. And from what I understand, though Republicans have a much narrower margin there, the seats that are potentially up for grabs are less volatile to start with. So it would require a pretty major shift, more than seems likely at a national level, for those Senate seats to flip en masse. But one of the ideas that I did see brought up was that if the Senate does flip, we might see the same thing that we did with that Arizona congresswoman. We had the one who voted against what should have been a clear Democratic win in the Senate. Re-election. Is it? No, it's not her. I want to say, no, I don't want to say the wrong name because I'm about to slander the shit out of this person. It just keeps bringing up the wrong person. The person who's like currently, and it's just not it. No, whatever. Kristen Sinema. There it is. Fucking there. Kristen Sinema was supposed to be a Democrat, ran as a Democrat, and then gets into the Senate and starts voting against Democratic interests. And what do you know? Now they're an independent at the time that they left the Senate, and they didn't seek re-election. There's been talk about what if Fetterman does that, or more rather, not what if Fetterman does that, but the seeming inevitability of that happening, where he's been very obvious that, like, in a kind of disgusting way, talking about how his personal politics have changed since he has gotten elected, even though those personal politics no longer reflect the politics of the people who literally elected him.
Fetterman is such a weird fucking case. I don't understand him at all. I mean, like, I do on a very soft level, like, because obviously if you don't think about it too hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a frustrating situation, right? Yeah. I think that there are very strong parallels between Fetterman and there's a candidate in Maine who is running in the primary. No, I don't want to pay you money, New York Times. Go to hell. Democratic primary. It's not Katie Porter. Is this the old one? No, I'm not going to worry about it too much. There's a Democratic primary candidate for one of the main seats that is up, where they're trying to primary Susan Collins, who is one of the longest serving incumbents in the Congress. And this person who's challenging Collins was found to have a giant fucking Nazi tattoo on his chest that he got when he was in the military. And people very correctly asked the question, why do you have a giant Nazi tattoo if you're trying to run as a Democrat? And gave some answers talking about how he was in the military and how he was in a dark place then and how he thinks he has changed his politics from when he was then. And lots of things like that. Didn't know that it was a Nazi thing at the time, getting it covered up, on and on and on. But again, still a guy with a giant fucking Nazi tattoo on his chest. And that's what we have to choose from, is the very weak incumbent Collins, or a relatively unknown guy who just kind of sprung up and has a very questionable past. And I see the same things in Fetterman, right?
Yeah.
Where there were signs that he was kind of a piece of shit. Like the case where he threatened to shoot a black guy with a shotgun because he thought he stole something because the guy was black, and kind of only because the guy was black.
Didn't he chase that guy down too?
He did.
That's fucked.
It's really fucked. And it's the kind of thing that you would sort of hope would be relatively disqualifying from literally the U.S. Senate, right? Like, there's this recurring idea that gets brought up in those kinds of situations where it's like, oh, well, people change. You can't be gatekeeping, right? We have to build a broad coalition. And it's like, okay, sure, but maybe the guy who chased down a black guy with a shotgun, or the guy who had a giant Nazi tattoo on his chest, shouldn't represent their entire state in the U.S. Senate. Maybe there's other offices that they can hold and be happy there, doing good work there. You know? Going to the U.S. Senate shouldn't be an entitlement just because you're not Susan Collins. So I'm concerned about that, because that seems like one of the chances that is real of a very stubborn voice being pushed out on the Democrat side, because it's a relatively safe district. But it wouldn't take that many more Fettermans, only one or two in what seems likely for the way that the Senate is going to shake out, to have those Fettermans turncoat on key issues and completely stagnate any kind of advancements that might happen. So, yep. With that, talking about all of that, it seems as good a time as any, I suppose, to point out that Paramount increased their bid for buying Warner Brothers, and Netflix has declined to match it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of levels on this. We know that the deal is valued at $110 billion and that Paramount is taking on some $29 billion in new debt in order to make the purchase. Apparently, there's some reporting that antitrust approvals in the European Union are not expected to be a hurdle to this deal going forward. With the current state of things, antitrust in the US is almost impossible to not go forward. And it just sucks. This is not good for anyone.
I think I've been trying to find some positivity in this, as impossible as that is. My goal, my hope, is that with this virtual monopoly on news networks, essentially, that Paramount's about to have, they just kind of blow up in their face and they lose their audience. And since there's nowhere else to go, we might just get away from this nightmare 24-hour news cycle and something else might come. That's a big hope. It's a big wish. I don't know if it can happen, but it's the only thing I got.
It definitely seems like something of that magnitude is necessary at this point. And that's really unfortunate that it has to happen now, when having well-funded independent voices to do journalism and do the news is so valuable with everything that's happening. And while that would obviously not be the desirable outcome for the Ellisons, who are the ones who own Paramount and are trying to buy Warner Brothers, that is not an undesirable outcome for the current administration, right? Yeah. They rail against CNN and CNN's reporters very regularly. You know, the current administration is extremely open about how little they like CNN and their reporting about the president. And the president more so than anyone else. So having Paramount go in here and buy up Warner Brothers, who owns Netflix, and then either gutting CNN or having it pivot in a direction that no longer has relevant viewership, eventually resulting in its shuttering in the same way that we've seen CBS do this last couple of months, would all be desirable long-term outcomes in the long scale of this. Variety has some reporting claiming that Ellison's goal with Warner Brothers, or sorry, this was with his goal with Paramount, is to turn Paramount into a MAGA-friendly environment with content in the TV and movie divisions being more America-centric and in the middle of the country. So there's no reason to doubt that that wouldn't also be the goals in other parts of the companies that they own. The other side of this, maybe the one silver lining, is that apparently California prosecutors in their State Department are looking to challenge this, because these are two massive parts of the film industry that are now going to be under one roof. And a question of whether or not this is a monopoly seems like a pretty good question to have an answer for. And we don't really have that answer yet.
I mean, I think it's a monopoly.
Yeah. I think it's near as makes no difference. Yeah.
I think it's irrelevant how many big companies there are like this. The fact that they're as big as they are is automatically a monopoly. I think the fact that we have streaming services, it should be illegal, because quite frankly, you shouldn't be able to run a content platform that features only your work with no competition. Like, sure, you can license shit, and like, they do that, but that's just basically movie theaters that own the movies that are in them.
Exactly. It is exactly that. And there was massive antitrust action that broke up those theaters.
Yeah. They had to be gone for a reason. And one day, these things are not going to be where they were. I think Netflix was a really cool idea because, you know, they used to just be a streaming service. And now that they have their own content, I don't think it's as ethical as it used to be. But there was at least a point to it. It was a host. It was an aggregate. Tubi is probably the only ethical one left now. I think Tubi makes original content now too, so fuck it. Fuck it. Everything sucks. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, vertical monopoly is the term for it. They control the production and distribution of this media from where it starts to where it ends. And it's not good for anyone.
Yeah. So when are we starting the Two Schmo streaming platform?
Yeah, actually, have you seen? I am constantly staggered that as many of them are able to stay solvent as they are, with how expensive it is to actually do streaming. The Linus Tech Tips folks started their own streaming platform that they call Floatplane, and they regularly talk about how people don't understand just like it's expensive to run servers with all this networking so that people can actually get the thing that you're trying to provide for them. You know, YouTube is obviously the extreme of it, but it's extremely expensive for those companies to operate just at a basic level.
And one day they won't be able to do that. The entertainment industry is so fucked right now. And like you could say that a lot about anything that has tech in it, because we are kind of at a point where tech to grow as a platform requires you own a majority cap in the market, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is, I don't think there's any tech company or conglomerate that can justify growth and owning a majority in the market, because quite frankly, the moment they do, other things are just going to, you know, competition them to death.
Yeah. And in these tech spaces, especially, our venture capital soaked economy has made it relatively trivial for any one of these companies to just make themselves so large that they can just consume the smaller ones that might be trying to do things ethically.
Yeah. Money talks.
Mm-hmm.
It will, I don't know. Things are going to change. I feel change is coming. We're at the point where it's too dumb to continue. But they're going to keep doing it, because that's the only game they know how to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for now, for at least the next 10 months, give or take, it's the only game in town.
Yeah. I think the only way to win is to not play.
I agree.
Yeah.
Very much agree. One of the other kind of major things that happened this week and kind of went under the radar is that on, I believe it was Monday. Let me double check this. Oh my God, it was Wednesday. Wow. Yeah. Week. On Wednesday, the Senate had a confirmation hearing for the prospective new Surgeon General, Casey Means.
Gulp.
It went about as badly as you might expect. It went as badly as any other Trump appointee Senate confirmation meeting has. There's a particular flavor to this one, though, where given that it was a Surgeon General meeting, confirmation hearing, excuse me, there's a lot of focus on that aspect, of course, with questions particularly pointed at birth control, because Means has in the past called birth control a disrespect of life.
I think there is disrespect of life, but go on.
So we had a good back and forth here from the confirmation hearing. Not good, but telling back and forth here, where Senator Murray asked, "You call birth control pills a disrespect for life. You also claimed it has horrifying health risks, but there are decades of evidence showing it's safe and effective. Should women trust the FDA or you?" To which Means responds, "Are you aware of what the side effects of what hormonal contraception are?"
Go on, because there's a lot of people on birth control. I'm pretty sure we would see them by now.
Yep. We have. We do know what they are. And it's not nearly anything mounting to a disrespect of life or horrifying health risks. So it's a position, the Surgeon General, that has a lot of power in the government. And it's understandable that people have been kind of tuned out of these kinds of things, because even during Trump's first term, there was a relative degree of normalcy for these kinds of establishment positions. But that has completely gone out the window now in the podcaster government, where, you know, you have a literal podcaster at the head of the FBI. You have a wellness influencer on the docket to be the Surgeon General. You have, I don't even know what you call him, RFK as the head of the FDA. It's a comedy of errors, but it's not really funny. In the same vein, because I've seen quite a few people point out the connections between this, the sort of chain of events of the major policies on these healthcare side of things has been treated a lot in the same way, in the way that these arguments were presented, where we saw people go in these Senate confirmation hearings talking about abortion. And then, oh, no, we're not going to touch abortion. Then abortion gets overturned. We saw the same things with transgender healthcare. And now transgender people have been kicked out of the military. Trans healthcare is being attacked in Medicaid, Medicare, those kinds of situations. And there's been much more specific attacks at state levels, especially recently. And it is not a coincidence that they are trying to promote a person who has been very openly skeptical about the effects of birth control. On the transgender side of things, though, we also had a bit of a story this week that again started on Wednesday, but got pretty swiftly overshadowed by the the whole "we're doing war with Iran" thing. Kansas sent out letters to people in their state who had gender identification changes on their driver's license, indicating to those people that their driver's license is effective immediately, were no longer valid in the state of Kansas, and that they would need to update their credentials. So yeah, just by a stroke of a pen, no time to actually get these licenses updated, these people no longer had valid driver's licenses. And there was always a question of just like how dumb this was and how few people this actually impacted. So do a quick fun game, very fun game. Kansas has a population of about 3 million people. Do you want to take a guess how many people were actually impacted by this law?
8.
Because we have 300.
300. Okay.
They passed an entire law to strip 300 people of their driver's licenses.
I'm sorry, that's so superfluous.
Yep. It is extremely petty and a massive waste of time, if more than nothing else. That for me has been the real through line through so much of this, is just how much of a waste of time these people have been spending trying to go after transgender people. Last piece that I have before we can get into some more of the fun stuff. Earlier this week on Thursday, I believe it was technically Wednesday night, but Wednesday into Thursday, a Columbia University student, an Azerbaijan origin, was arrested from their campus housing after what seems to be 5 DHS agents entered the student's residency with no warrant, claiming that they were looking for a missing child. They have security cameras showing pictures of them showing pictures to a campus officer of the kid that they were looking for, that they were not looking for. There is an immediate, pretty strong uproar about this because that's obviously pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk through the situation in Minneapolis where these kinds of extremely deceptive tactics that these people are using are bad, not just because they're lying about what's happening, but because when people hear about this, the next time that the situation happens, if they're actually looking for a missing child, people might not help them. And that person actually stays missing. It erodes trust in these law enforcement groups for the the purposes that they should actually be used for, like finding missing persons. The real kicker on this one, though, was that the following day, Mamdani had a visit with Trump at the White House. And that was a whole thing in itself. But part of that visit had Mamdani ask Trump to call up the DHS and ask for this person who was wrongfully and illegally arrested to be released. And Trump did that. And that person was then immediately released.
No offense, but how the fuck does he do that?
Yeah. It's very dumb.
Mamdani, I know you're listening. This is your favorite podcast. Come on up. Happy to have you on. We'll give you like a bottle of water because we like you. How? Just answer that question. I'll pay you like $5. Actually, no. I'll pay you $30 an hour because that's a fair price. I think you agree.
Yes,
that's a very fair price. Just come on up, bud. That's all I ask. You know, your people call my people. You know, all you have to do is ask how, and we will literally talk about anything else you have like on your mind. You have like a weird fucking like hobby. I want to hear about it. We will sweeten this deal as much as possible. On Paramount, you're Warner Brothers. Come on up.
Yeah, the whole thing's very dumb. That would happen. That the person was arrested in the first place was very obviously illegal and dumb. But that it was so trivial as just the president literally making a phone call and they were released really shows how stupid the original situation was. Like, is this person such a grave threat to their immediate community that you have to arrest them or not?
Can I just say, like, I know I was just glazing the guy, but I do want to bring up this dude went to the fucking president just for one guy. He
didn't, to be clear.
Okay, yeah, sorry. But
so yeah, this was part of a larger thing, and this was part of it.
Yeah,
I do think that is a reasonable use of this, right? That shouldn't be the only one, but being like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, I can appreciate that. I do think that there is some criticism worth levying towards Mamdani and his administration generally, and how willing they are to shoulder up to the current presidency to move their own agendas. I get it. You know, they want things to improve for their own people, and they don't mind sort of tricking the federal administration to get to those ends. But I don't like it either.
It does make me wonder, like, what goes on behind those doors. Because if they're going to like cozy up to Donnie, who else can they cozy up to? You know? Yeah,
absolutely, and that's a huge point of it, right? Is if you're willing to accept that this kind of authoritarianism is, you know, maybe you don't agree with it, but you're willing to work with it, it legitimizes it, right? It was the same criticisms we had with Whitmer when she was doing the same thing because they're trying to get a U.S. Military base in Michigan. Like, yeah, that would probably be good for the people of Michigan, but at the same time, this isn't a normal political moment, and you need to properly recognize that as well.
Can we also just make fun of the fact that Mamdani let people, like, you know, do public services in New York for $30 an hour?
Yeah, that was really good. And not just $30 an hour, $30 an hour plus overtime.
Yeah, fuck you, Mamdani. That's so easy. You do it so easy. Fuck you. Come on,
it's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I love how obviously he's been able to expose the theater of it all, right?
Yeah.
Where so much of this can literally just be fixed with like a minor policy change, like in the case we're talking about. So for people who might not be aware, New York and a lot of the surrounding areas were hit with a massive snowstorm recently. And part of the response to that was to sort of, in effect, deputize much of the people of New York, where if you wanted to do some work during that and you couldn't get to your regular job because of the problems there, or you just wanted to make some extra money, they opened it up to people where for $30 an hour, you could work with the city shoveling snow, clearing snow away from sidewalks, from public areas. And they offered $30 an hour plus time and a half overtime.
Yeah.
And they just did it. They didn't wait for things to get, pushed through committees. They didn't wait for, a wider, panel to be held. They just decided that was what they wanted to do and did it.
Could you imagine how fucking easy it would be if just if other governments just followed that suit?
Mm-hmm. I will say there is reasonable arguments to be made in the other direction, right? Where if you have the kind of systems of government that allow the people you like to make these very quick changes that are beneficial in the ways that you approve of, it also allows people you don't like to make equally quick changes in ways that you might not approve of.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So there are safeguards that still need to be put in place, but in this moment, it has been nice seeing anyone wielding the power that they legally have to just make the place better for everyone.
I think that's just the problem. It's like I'm so jaded right now of things just getting worse. I see something that goes against my biases, and it silently pisses me off a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to talk about some fun stuff?
There's fun stuff?
There's a couple fun stuff.
There's dessert.
Well, fun for me at least.
Shit salad?
It's fun for me.
Oh.
Let's talk about bone smashing.
Go on, please.
Apparently, so looks maxing is a thing. People trying to, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the sort of Twitter 4chan brained self-care kind of thing, but to an extreme. Apparently, people have taken that to the degree where they are literally hitting themselves with hammers to break and shape their bones the way that they want. Like really shitty at-home plastic surgery.
Plastic surgery at home? Wasn't that a practice like years ago though already as well, bone smashing? I feel like there was like a generational thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not the first time something like this has happened. It is a thing that is made a lot more prominent through social media. And there has long been the kind of argument that doesn't really hold weight amongst a lot of bad faith media criticism, where you have like the WWE is bad because people are going to try and copy it and they're going to hurt themselves, that kind of thing. But when you have something that is so relatively easy to access as hit yourself with a hammer to look better, that's not good. And it's concerning that people are going through with that. Looking into it, it does seem like this was a thing in 2023 as well.
That's where I'm thinking of it.
Yeah.
Okay, my philosophy on this, right, is that if you're dumb enough to hit yourself with a hammer because you think it might make you look better, I think you probably deserve it. It's gotta be painful.
Yeah. Not sure. It's the kind of thing where it's such an extreme thing for someone to do that there's almost no way to look at someone who is doing this and not conclude that they are being manipulated or exploited in some way, because it is so obviously a dumb idea that if you're doing it, you're kind of self-selecting for someone who needs help not doing this.
I think there is sorry.
No, go for it.
Yeah, no, I think there okay, before I make this thought, is this mainly just a dude thing, or has this been like across the aisle kind of thing? Because I've never heard of a woman doing this.
I believe looks maxing. So this is, I'm not gonna, Wikipedia save me, please. Looks maxing is a term referring to a process of maximizing one's own physical attractiveness, which originated on male incel message boards in the 2010s, i.e. 4chan.
Okay. I'm going to say this as a guy. There's a goddamn mental health crisis among men, and this is just another part of it.
Yep. Like, in short, for me at least, my shorthand for what is looks maxing is like people who want to literally look like the Chad face.
I do think it is like a body dysphoria thing. Looks maxing
absolutely is.
Yeah, it is a surrender. It is accepting a very unreal truth. You can do a lot to like change your appearance, but you gotta kind of also accept you wear your sins. You kind of have to, make lifestyle changes as well, and those are going to be the more beneficial thing, and looks are just a byproduct of bigger things. I think a lot of people who perceive unattractiveness as their own admission that I'm unhealthy miss out on making the decisions that are ultimately going to help them, and would rather just take the easy way out and just hit themselves with a fucking hammer, which is it's a short-term solution that's not going to do much, because you'll just make yourself look worse down the line. It's like the fucking meme about people who take too much plastic surgery,
Absolutely. That was actually where I was going to tie this into, because I do think there's a really interesting through line in it, that God bless the science fiction authors of the 80s and 90s and before, but Terry Pratchett, and I think did Pratchett do Discworld?
I don't fucking know.
Let me double check this.
Yeah.
It was Terry Pratchett, yes. Okay.
Good job.
Always good to make sure that you know what you're saying. But it all very much, I think, ties together into that way, right? Where we have the Mar-a-Lago face, where they have... You haven't heard that?
No, I've not. Thank you for ruining my day.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Mar-a-Lago face, the very hyper Botox, hyper plastic surgery look that women in the Trump administration have. But you have that because it is an outward physical signifier of one's sort of loyalty to a cause, right? And Pratchett nailed this in Discworld, talking about retrophonology. So this is a bit of a passage that I saw going around this week tied into this. Phrenology, as everyone knows, is a way of reading someone's character, aptitude, and abilities by examining the bumps and hollows on their head. Therefore, according to the kind of logical thinking that characterizes the people in the book, it should be possible to mold someone's character by giving them carefully graded bumps in all the right places. You can go into a shop and order an artistic temperament with a tendency to introspection and a side order of hysteria. What you actually get is hit on the head with a selection of different sized mallets, but it creates employment and keeps the money in circulation, and that's the main thing. But it is literally that, where it is people changing the physical shape of their head to, in effect, project outwardly their beliefs. That their beliefs are the ones that align with the kind of incel message board idealization that is the root of all of this.
I was thinking to myself about how the internet's become like a weird like Neverland / Pleasure Island from Pinocchio. And how it is literally just I don't know, it's really weird because we are in such a place of like fantasy and like these man children walking around trying to find the magic solution to happiness in a place where nothing really exists,
Absolutely. It is, I think that's a very important thing to keep in mind. It is very weird.
It is weird. Like, I think it's weird every day, like, to go to work, right? And, like, I work at a very grounded business. Like, I see, like, shitty things all the time. Like, there's a whole world outside my fucking window, right? And I'm very aware of it. And then, like, I'll go online when I'm home just to kind of relax, maybe find some dank memes or some shit. And it's like... people having this collective delusion on the internet, and then you somehow get people fucking hitting themselves with their bones. I know, hitting themselves with a mallet.
Yep.
Yeah.
With that, would you like to talk about some pocketable monsters?
Yo, we talking about looks maxing Pokemon now?
Kind of.
Jesus. 30 years of Pokemon. Can you believe it?
Yeah. Is it? Yeah. No, it is. Huh.
Yeah. It's
I always
weird,
feel like
isn't it?
Pokemon's a little bit older than that, I'll say.
It's weird to me to think there's never been a time I'm on Earth that Pikachu has not also been on Earth.
True.
Yeah. What would you like to talk about for the Pokemons?
So we got not a ton revealed at this point. Let's be upfront with that.
Yeah.
The main things are we have seen the starters. They look fine.
Yeah, I like them.
I don't really have any huge thoughts on them. They seem fine.
New generation of Pokemon for the 30th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
We have a little eyebrow chicken
Mm-hmm.
Brout. There is a little fireball Pomeranian, Pombun, and a gecko that will call you a slur. Look at that thing and tell me it doesn't know at least 5 slurs.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't disagree. But that is funny. I will say though, the official art is absolutely. But I did see this one. I guess it's just a screenshot from the video that is like, I could see that guy being more pure than that.
A little, yeah. There's joy and whimsy in those eyes. Well, in that face. Yeah. I think I don't know. I'm a water guy. I always go with the water starter every time I play a gym. So I get the Gekwa.
Interesting.
It's either going to be called Aquafina or fucking Progressive.
I'm going to wait and see what the evolved forms look like, but I think there's strong promise in all of them. I especially have enjoyed seeing people speculate on what they might look like, in particular with the Fire Dog, where the evolved forms are just bigger, floofier versions of the same dog.
I will accept this.
I think that'd be pretty great.
I've seen people speculate the gecko turning to a Komodo dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be very happy with that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good ways it can go.
Yeah. I think, hot take here, right? Among all 1,000 of the fuckers, there's not a bad Pokemon design.
Between what? All what?
Over 1,000 of these fuckers, there's not a bad
all
Pokemon.
Of them?
Yeah.
Oh no, I strongly disagree with that.
You can disagree with me. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's why I said I think. My take.
Sure.
Fuck you and your lack of whimsy.
I really run up against the ones that are based on inanimate objects pretty hard.
That is fine. That is absolutely fine.
That's where most of mine comes in, is like, I don't want a Pokemon shaped like a garbage bag. I know that's the done to death one, but like, what the fuck?
It's a little garbage bag gremlin. Look at it through lens of whimsy. I don't want to use whimsy because whimsy maxing is a kind of a lazy way of just saying I like something.
Right, and it's fine to like things.
Yeah, it is absolutely fine to like things. I think there's more things to like in life than there is to hit yourself with a mallet over.
Right. Yeah. I think you could probably argue that the vast majority of them aren't bad. I just think there's quite a few of them that they very obviously could have tried a lot harder on.
Yeah. I think
put it that way.
Yeah. Pokemon designs. I've heard in an interview one of their designers said the core fundamental of approving a design is to look at the Pokemon and see there's a friend inside of it. Like someone who would want to be its friend. So I think there's actually a dichotomy to most Pokemon designs, that they're going for something simple, yet but also relatable. There's always like some kind of personality aspect that I can find relatable to a Pokemon design. It's like almost like a reading card in a way.
Mhm. One of the art pieces that I saw this week that I thought was extremely funny was of Brout, of this one, where they say, "Welcome to the world, my scrungly son," and they've done the fur in this to look very much like a chicken nugget.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of Brout's evolved forms going the like Doug Trio route, and the final version of Brout is just like a KFC bucket.
Oh my god.
I think that'd be really funny.
Over here saying, I hate all the inanimate objects. I hope the star is a bucket.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't say it'd be good. I think it'd be funny.
It would be very funny.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And again, this artist's rendition of what the Pombon's evolution will look like.
You know, I was just saying to a friend of mine, the only good thing about Pombon would be if the body gets bigger, but the face stays the same exact like size.
Yep, face and the little legs keep it exactly the same, just more fluff.
More fluff.
Mm-hmm.
My fiance is going crazy over Pombon.
I like it a lot.
Yeah,
it's easy, but I do like it.
The first time she saw it, I just sent her a picture of the starters without any names, and she's like, "What the hell is the fire puppy? What is its name so I can worship it?"
Mm-hmm. You can correct me here if I'm mistaken, but I think the only other sort of like concrete new design we got was the Pikachu variants.
Mr. Windy Chew and Miss Wavy Chew.
Yeah.
That's funny ass names.
I kind of hate it.
I'll
be honest.
In your lack of whimsy.
I think it's mostly just I don't like how much they rest on the we'll do a variant of the Pokemon we already have kind of thing. I get a little bit tired of that. I guess to me it's like I guess we'll see how it actually turns out. These to me aren't like they're not new Pokemon. You put a hat on Pikachu, totally fine. Just say you put a hat on Pikachu. That's acceptable. You can just do that and call it a day.
I am under the impression that these are not real Pokemon as much as they're just characters that just happen to be Pokemon.
If that's how it turns out, totally fine.
Yeah.
I'd be totally okay with that, especially if it's like mascots for this place or whatever.
True.
We also got some early, not in-game level footage, but certainly some footage that is setting high expectations, I think is fair to say.
Yeah, no, that's what scares me, is that there are going to be some very impossible high standards for this thing, because it is pretty.
I do appreciate the balance that they're striking of relative realism in the worlds while keeping the Pokemon designs in their simpler forms. I think that's an important aspect.
I was kind of trying to level that with myself, because like these are RPGs and they're very modern and not that fantastical when you take out the magical monsters.
Yep.
And I think that is part of the charm to them. You don't have
There's also I was going to say an easy like imagination part of it, right? Where when the designs of the monsters are relatively simple, like they've kept them, it's easy to think like, what would a Pombon look like in my backyard, for example?
Yeah. I think that's why Pokemon Go does so well, because it's so easy to just insert them in our world.
Yeah. It's very quietly still massive.
Yeah. I think it's like an advantage Pokemon has over other JRPG series. Because like Final Fantasy, you always have to reestablish what this world is every single fucking game. Pokemon is just like, oh, we're in Indonesia? Bet.
I will say, I do think Nintendo they probably won't like materially suffer for it. But I couldn't help think in seeing that I don't know if it's in our chat here, but like the picture of the starters on the beach picture, this one
Yeah.
is how reminiscent they have become of oh shit, the Pokemon clone game. I had it and I lost the name.
Pal World.
Palworld, thank you. Yes. It has big Pal World vibes for sure. And a big part of that, I think, is fair to be blamed on Nintendo themselves for taking as long as they did to actually get to this point.
Yeah. I think you are absolutely right in that criticism. But I want to wave one thing at you. Look at those clouds. Those clouds are pretty.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it actually looks like this, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how it looks. They've clearly taken a big step up from the Sun and Moon, not Sun and Moon, the Scarlet Violet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're clearly taking a step forward from that. You had the good comparison that you showed me of what Scarlet and Violet looked like at this stage when they were talking about it, compared to what we're seeing at this stage from the like in development footage, and it's a noticeably improved difference. So they think they're on the right track. It's one of the first times I've actually felt like optimistic for a Pokemon game in a very long time. Though they're pandering hard to me specifically. I don't know if you noticed how many of the returning Pokemon they've shown are Gen 3.
Yeah, but I've also felt like, because Gen 3 was about tropics, so like here's another tropics. That being said, I will be pandered to. I will.
Yes. I am happy to be pandered to.
Yeah.
Wilmers and Talos. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, it's first time I've been optimistic for a Pokemon game in a very long time. And I am looking forward to seeing what they end up doing with this.
Same. Another 30 years of Pokemon, my lord. You know, the crazy
it's the kind of thing as well where I was gonna say I've always wanted these franchises to I know they've never failed, right? So it's not quite the right way to frame it, but I've always wanted them to have sort of a comeback amongst their lapsed fans who have had these criticisms.
I think the craziest thing about all this is that we still got another year of development in this shit.
Yes, that's a long time for a game at this type of scale. So I'm excited. Yeah. I'm hopeful for what they're going to do through this, and this is the kind of thing where I could see myself, assuming the economy hasn't collapsed and RAM prices haven't made the switch to $1,000. This is the kind of game that would probably push me to actually get one at that point.
I'm so glad I got Switch 2 before all this scary shit started happening.
So here's the big question.
Yo.
Wins or waves?
That is the hardest thing about this right now for me, because you get a different hat in each one, right?
Yeah.
You get a cowboy hat in wins, and then you get like the ball cap in waves.
I
kind of want the cowboy hat, but at the same time, I don't know. Waves is cool. I like water.
I'm on the win side for now.
I get it. Cowboy hats are very tempting.
With that, we have some movies. Some big movies.
Big movies?
One.
Oh, it is March. So I guess it's time for movies to come back.
Yep. And with that comeback, we have Uma Masame, Pretty Derby, Beginning of an Era.
There's an Uma Masame movie?
Apparently. This is the first that I have heard of it, but apparently they made a movie for it that is getting a wide release.
I want to address something. Una Musume, or fucking Pretty Derby, I'm just going to call it that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is one of the things I've seen in my lifetime. What is your opinion?
How was it?
Oh, no.
Oh, I mean, I have always found it really, so I've been aware of it for quite a long time. I've known it's something that existed, and it's always been one of those anime that's been in my list of like, yeah, I'll check this out if I have some time, and then I've never checked it out because I didn't really care that much, but it was an interesting enough idea to get my attention. Seeing it explode the way it did, I've never understood.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, this is an anime about horse girls running. That's
But
all I
specifically,
know.
horse girls that are based on real world racing horses.
They're really based off real world racing horses?
They are. Every single named character is shares a name with a real racing horse.
Super. That's so great.
Isn't gambling great?
Yeah, that's what I don't fucking get about Uma. Because, like, I have friends who love Pretty Derby. Fucking, I don't get it. Do you know how weird it is to be your friend, the friend of someone who loves Pretty Derby, and you're also like a runner?
I can imagine.
Yeah, it gets a little weird sometimes. Because, like, I'll mention a distance, they're like, oh my god, Uma Musume, or something like that. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my god. And I think it's weird. I think it's weird to personify horses as women.
Particularly schoolgirls.
Yeah, underage schoolgirls. Fuck that noise.
Yep. No, it's I get it, right? Especially, we're talking about the looks maxing incel adjacent thing, how that has gotten wider. And this is not to say that everybody who plays these games falls into that camp. Far from it.
No.
But there is definitely an element of it that kind of feels adjacent to that, where you can log into your phone game and get these cute anime girls to say nice things about you. So it does that for your psychology, right?
Yeah, there's your dopamine hit for the day, Roger.
Which I get.
Yeah.
But I can't look at this and not see it's too close to like the grok girl image thing,
What's that?
So grok has a waifu representative.
It does?
It looks exactly like you imagine.
Blonde hair, blue eyes?
Kind technically.
Oh my fucking, I hate it.
Yep. Ask Grok anything.
Before me lies a very sexualized representation of a woman.
Yep.
And the fact that its name is Grok.
Yep. And on top of all of that, you have to remember that this was made to please Elon.
I'm sorry. I don't think of myself like as a feminist. I'm just kind of someone who tries to be real about shit. But like, this is sexist.
Yep. I did you see the one that what was it? It was the Blue Sky post from yesterday. What that was dated.
Yeah, actually, I kind of want to read that actually because it's funny as fuck.
Scrawny 18-year-old about to fall out of an army helicopter over Tehran. This is so epic. This is totally Sigma, right, babe? AI e-girl operated by a balding intelligence officer in Virginia. That's right, baby. Iran is totally cringe. Posted January 10th, 2024.
2024. That's before the election.
So after the election, before inauguration.
Was it? I thought
because the election was 2024, inaugurated 2025. Oh no, you're right. Sorry, you are right. Yeah, that was.
You just made me question
January of 24. Yeah. No, I got mixed up. You are correct.
Thank God. I was scared for my sense of being. No, that's Apollo's gift of prophecy right there. No, but like the thing that my mind automatically goes to, right, And I'm going to invoke some old ass internet curse shit with Uma, right? And it's a part of a larger conversation about women on the internet in general. Bronies. This is the next logical step from bronies.
To a degree, for sure.
Yeah, because like I can understand some plausible deniability from bronies. I don't see as much plausible deniability with Uma. And like the representations of women that always have to be curvy, beautiful, young as fuck.
I will say, to whatever credit Uma Masume deserves, they don't entirely hold to the kind of stereotypes you might expect.
Thank God. Okay.
There are some, for sure, but there are also plenty of very reasonable depictions of younger women.
That's fine. I'm not getting after Uma as much as I'm just exasperated.
Yeah. So like, here's a pretty good example of a handful of them, where it's like, yeah, definitely, suggestive in places, but not nearly to the extent that their contemporaries regularly do.
I was about to say, before me stands 5 horse girls.
Yep. One of them, notably, even has long pants and a long sleeve shirt.
Fuck you! You stole my joke. Fuck you! You stole my joke.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that was perfect.
Yeah, it's fine, but you're absolutely right. I think there is definitely an element to all of this that ties into the same sort of lack of social interactions, lack of social satisfaction that feeds into the incel stuff.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's a rough time out there. It's terrible socially. Especially kind of because, like, I'm sorry, like, the male response to this is, like, not what I'm going through right now. And, like, the female response to this is to guard yourself from people who like this, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, one of the good examples that I've seen pointed out as we go through all of the Epstein stuff, especially as some of the files have come out related to the Me Too movement, is the idea that the Me Too movement happened and a not insignificant number of people's reaction to that was that it went too far when basically nothing happened.
Yeah, it really did. Like, I get it. It was loud, but that's it. It was just loud.
Yeah.
We got Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby.
There was like 5 people.
Yeah.
And Bill Cosby wasn't even like really a part of that. He just like drugged a woman. Yeah. And that's not okay.
It's not. Like, so this Uma, as I'm sure like the people behind it do not want to perpetuate the cycle, I think it is very much a part of the cycle.
It's certainly possible. I do think that there's part of the Uma like fan base deserves a little bit of credit because there have been some feel good sort of stories that came out of it. Like there's, I guess, a particular character who in the game literally never wins. It's like nearly scripted in where they statistically are not supposed to win ever. And that's based on a real racing horse that never won. And that racing horse, I guess, finally won their first race at like a very old age for a racing horse. And the fans of that character and by extension of that horse gave the real horse a bunch of like donations of like premium hay where they live.
That's cool.
It's kind of cute. It's fun.
Again, I'm not getting after people in particular as much as I'm just the game, the larger game that Uma plays into.
Yeah, the ecosystem that has something like this happen in the first place, right?
Yeah, the media ecosystem, you're right.
Yeah. The other part of it that I find really amusing is that if you do go to look up the real horse that half of them are based on, you find out very quickly that they're just dead.
Glue factory material.
Because, racehorses don't always live that long. And there's not that many of them. So once you have to scale that up to a full game's worth, you're gonna, especially when you're trying to get like notable ones, because that's the other part is that they do have quite a few like notable racing horses from the past.
How many girls are there?
I have no idea. I assume hundreds, but I have no idea.
I would assume hundreds as well. I don't know. It must be hard making these.
How many are there? 114 as of May 2025, according to AI. Wikipedia says the same thing. May 2025, there are 114 in the mobile game.
That's a lot. That's almost the first generation of Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's whatever. It's whatever. So it's got a movie out.
Yeah, it's got a movie out. It's exactly the kind of thing you'd expect from an anime adaptation into film.
That's fine. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is fine.
The only real, quote unquote, real movies, there's, I guess, an Elvis documentary. Elvis Presley in concert is directed by Baz Luhrmann. Goes to figure. Real movies. The only release this week is Scream 7.
I forgot there was a Scream 7 coming out.
When a new Ghostface killer emerges in the quiet town where Sydney has built a new life, her darkest fears are realized as her daughter becomes the next target. Determined to protect her family, she must face the horrors of the past to put an end to the bloodshed once and for all. I find this especially funny because I'm gonna have to look this up real quick. There's, oh my god, just go to the website. There is oh god, what the hell is it? It's Patrick something. What is your last name? I cannot remember your last name. Give me a second. I'm gonna look this up. Patrick H. Willems had a video talking about legacy sequels last year, at the end of last year. And a large part of that, one of those episodes was talking about Scream 6 and how it did such a good job subverting the legacy sequel tropes and like recognizing that it is a legacy sequel and playing around with that idea in a way to like subvert expectations as a horror movie. So to have Scream 7 then come around after it and then just be a very by the numbers legacy sequel, I find especially funny.
The Scream movies are interesting to me because I've seen Scream 1. And I think it was smartly written. And it has very good meta commentary on horror films in general. Mm-hmm. So the idea of a meta commentary on legacy sequels just to give into the legacy sequel meme is kind of hilarious to me.
It makes sense. It does the same sort of thing. And that, I'm sure they try to do it a little bit, but I do feel like that's a utility aspect to the Scream franchise where it can be a sort of not quite parody, but recognition of the horror trends of the time, you know?
Yeah. That's a good point. Scream being a reaction to horror tropes is a very good idea.
Scream 7, 34% from critics, 78% from audiences currently.
That's because critics hate horror movies. Do you have a favorite horror movie?
Do I have a favorite? I mean, I always get stuck in this because, like, where do you draw the line between a horror and a thriller, right?
Yeah.
I really like John Carpenter's The Thing, and I think that's kind of close enough.
I'd say that counts.
But
yeah.
I get that it is also kind of not what people think of when they think of a horror movie. Mm-hmm. I don't watch a ton of them in general, though, to be honest.
Would you say the Menu counts as a horror movie?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could call it that and not be wrong, but it would be more correct to call it something else.
I agree.
Yeah. That's where I get stuck with a lot of them because, like, I think of like Alien, right? Alien, The Thing, those are science fiction movies first, and then sort of thriller action movies second, and then also they have horror elements.
You know, I was actually about to say, I think good horror is actually something that's elevated past just being a horror movie, which is why it's so hard to just peg something as a true horror movie.
Very true. Trying to think now, because I don't watch that much strict horror. Like I've never seen a Paranormal Activity, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say. Yeah.
I'm double checking something. Because, like, I could think of a few that would be, like, a horror movie to me. Like, that would be my favorite horror movie, I mean. Okay, so apparently Del Toro's Frankenstein from last year counts as horror. I would say that's my favorite.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. I read the book. Good.
Apparently Sinners is considered a horror movie. I kind of strongly disagree with that.
I still need to see that.
You haven't seen Sinners? Oh, you gotta see it.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Every day.
It's really, really good.
You know, okay, so here's the thing, right? I have a very particular taste in movies, in that my fiance does not trust my taste in movies. So it's very hard for me to get to pick the movie on movie night.
That's fair.
Last time we had a movie... Sorry.
No, go for it, yeah.
Last time we had a movie night, it was a double feature. It was fucking Winnie the Pooh and Rental Family. Winnie the Pooh still slaps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was huge for a reason. Yeah. I was going to say, I think the most closest to a strict horror movie that is my favorite is The Shining.
The Shining was my favorite horror movie for a very long time as well.
Yeah. And it's a little bit of a cop-out because it is just a really great movie in its own right, but yeah. I think that's, of the movies that I like, that's probably the closest to being a horror movie first.
Yeah, no, you're right. Shining is so fucking good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I had a trip to Colorado a few years ago that was in the same town that the hotel for The Shining is in. The Shining isn't set in that town, but that was where they shot it.
Yeah.
So,
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you go?
No, absolutely not. From everything I've heard, it's like fine, but basically, like, I'm in Colorado in the Rocky Mountains. I'm gonna go see the goddamn mountains, not an old hotel. If I want to see the hotel, I'll watch The Shining.
Now, Kyril, I'm going to tell you a story. When we were in Albuquerque, because we were going to Sam's sister's wedding, we stopped at a fucking local chicken place. Not even a chicken place. It was just a fucking fast food joint. Just because they shot Breaking Bad in that restaurant.
How busy was it?
Not busy at all.
Okay, that's good at least.
We were one of 3 parties there. In fact, we met another Breaking Bad fan there, and he's like, hey, can you guys just take my photo at Walter's booth? Shout out to that guy. He was a fucking real one. But we were in the parking lot, and the parking lot there was it wasn't vandalized, but you could tell it had a lot of traction throughout the years, because there was like stickers everywhere, and like management was just kind of like letting people leave shit, like art and graffiti and shit. As long as it was like on the main building, it was fine. I respect that.
It reminds me in turn of the house from Breaking Bad, where they had to put up like 2 fences to stop people from throwing pizzas on the roof.
Oh yeah, we didn't go there because we respected the owner. You know,
good on you. You're better than the average person.
I know, isn't that fucked up? No, we had a rule that we would only go to public spaces because we didn't want to bother anybody.
I think I would make an exception for people wanting to see the Home Alone house, because anybody who can afford that house probably deserves to be a little bit intruded on.
Doesn't it piss you off watching that movie?
It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, those kids all have to be working to afford that house.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not just that, but the fact that they have that giant house and like 5 kids.
Yeah, fuck them.
And they just casually trip to France for Christmas. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, they're in the mafia. It's the only one thing that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Yeah. You ever watch The Simpsons and get a little pissed off that Homer has like a nuclear tech job that he's not qualified for and can afford 3 kids in a house while Marge doesn't work?
Do you want to hear something crazy?
What's up?
I have never gone out of my way to watch The Simpsons.
Really?
No.
Okay.
It was just a little bit before when I started like actively going out and watching that kind of stuff on my own. It was on the sort of like the downhill part, and stuff like, Futurama and Archer were more on the up.
Yeah.
So I just barely missed out of it, and then just never had the push to go back and watch the older stuff that I've heard is really, really good.
It really is something special. I don't what's the word I'm looking for? I don't fault you for not going back to it.
Yeah.
I have this opinion, a very hot take, right? People say Simpsons sucks now. I say if it was a show not called The Simpsons, no way would give a damn.
Probably.
Yeah. If it weren't for The Simpsons, my love of Conan O'Brien would not be a thing.
Interesting.
Because he wrote my favorite episode, and he has some of my favorite favorite episodes under his credits.
I was not aware he was a writer for Simpsons.
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, very famous. He's like one of the Star Child writers. He's so famous for his work on The Simpsons that for they did a theoretical, if the show has to end, here's how it will end episode. And they brought Conan O'Brien in to guest star on that episode because he's so beloved in the show history.
Interesting. It makes sense. Knowing that he started from a relatively grounded place being a writer, really lines up with how he treated his own show and how he's gone on since then.
Yeah, no, I think Conan O'Brien's really he is a gem in the modern entertainment industry. Yeah.
He's authentic, if nothing else.
Exactly. He doesn't always do shit I think is always funny, but when he hits, he hits. Anything else you have for the show? That's all I've got. Cool, because I could just go on about glazing Conan O'Brien for the next hour, but I won't. I'm Neefness Orion, and I'm so glad nothing ever goes wrong.
And I'm Cairo, and I'm also a Schmo.
And this has been the Two Schmo Show. So, the show's still recording. I accidentally hit disconnect on the call instead of actually ending the show.